Welcome back, everybody. I'm Naha. This is 30 Days of Tarot, and I am so excited for opening this deck today. This is a deck that I have been wanting to work with, wanting to use for so long. It's one of the ones that's been hardest for me to just leave sitting in the package. But today, it's finally getting opened. It finally gets its time. And this deck was actually a huge part of the inspiration for going ahead, buckling down, and doing this 30 Days of Tarot, and why I also thought that October was going to be the perfect month to do it. And this deck was also originally going to be the last deck of the series. So I was planning on opening it on Halloween on October 31st, and you guys will see why. And so the 30 days, we actually started day 1 on the 2nd, so that's why the 30th deck will be opened on the 31st. But I realized that you guys might be interested in actually getting your hands on this deck before Halloween, because it might be something that you want to have specifically to use on that day. And this deck, although the one that I'm going to be opening today is the original, it has been reissued, a little bit different format, which we'll talk about, but it's also available right now on, if you have Amazon Prime, you'll be able to get it in time, and I'll have all the links for you down below. So what we're opening today is the Barbara Walker Tarot. So this deck originally came out in 1986, and it is just something that I have coveted for many years. It's very infused with a feminist perspective, and Barbara Walker is a very important author and teacher in female magical empowerment. Yet this is not just one of these kind of beautiful goddessy decks. It is a little bit dark, it's a little bit spooky, it's pagan, it's mythological, and it's really, really cool. So I want to get into it very soon, but before we do that, I want to share with you a couple other works by this author that you guys might find of interest. And the first one is this book, Woman's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. And as you can see, this is quite a big book, and just a compendium. Oh, we just got her cards right there. Let's not spoil it though. So you've just got all kinds of symbols in here. There's different gods and goddesses. There's different flowers, animals, and here's different plants and things of that nature. There's different crystals in here. So what all different kinds of symbols and things can be used for. Then the next book, which is one of my favorite books by her, and it's just a real great resource, an even bigger book, is this one. And this is called The Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. So it's just got stories across all different kinds of traditions. Again, it talks a lot about different gods and goddesses and saints, and I mean, you name it, that's all in here. So this is a really, really awesome book, and again, written from a somewhat feminist perspective of a real women's empowerment. So this is this, and all of these books are actually still in publication. I have old editions, but they're all available from HarperCollins, and again, I'll leave links down below. And then the last book that I want to share with you is this one, which is called Women's Rituals, a source book. And this just has all kinds of really walk through step-by-step rituals that you can do. There's ones for different days of the year. And what I love about it is not only does she really go into depth about how to set yourself up and prepare for ritual, how to set your environment, and what kind of mindset to put yourself in. She also gives really great intonations, and I think that sometimes that's what's a little bit lacking in ritual books, is you get the sense of like setting everything up, but then the words that you use, no, there's something to be said for writing your own prayers or your own invocations, but I really like what she presents here. So again, if you celebrate Samhain, which is the pagan holiday, which was appropriated and turned sort of into Halloween, but originally a holiday for honoring and contacting, especially in a divinatory sense, your ancestors, those who have passed away. So that's coming up. It's also known as All Hallows Eve, and it's just a really important time to do ritual, especially around gratitude for your ancestors and really connecting with them. So something else for you to look at, and if you do have Amazon Prime, you can probably still get this book in time for the holiday. But let's go ahead and get into this. Now, as I said, wanted this deck for so long, but because it was out of print for so long, it was just, you know, a deck that was expensive, and it also has a book that is sold separately. I wanted the book, and I ended up finding this on eBay probably like a year ago, and it came together. So it was a set with a book and the deck, and I was able to get both of them for $100. You can actually get the book for maybe like around $20. You can buy it used, of course. The deck, I'm not sure how much the older deck's going for, but as I said, it's been re-released in what I believe to be maybe like a smaller format. US Game Systems has released a few different decks like this in the little metal tin. They call it a pocket-sized edition. So you'll just have to look online at what the dimensions of the cards are, but they might be, I'm getting the idea that they're just smaller than the regular deck. So let's go ahead and look here. Okay, first of all, here's the book. Wow, this is in good condition. Nice. Okay, so Secrets of the Tarot, Origin, History, and Symbolism. Just from the cover alone, I think you guys can get the idea that just because she is very much feminist in that perspective, it doesn't mean everything is pink and flowery. She definitely has a darker sort of look to things. And one thing that I love about this is it's not just for interpreting the cards and giving card meanings. She really does go into the history of each card and kind of where it derived from and how it's changed over time. And I just think that this is going to be a really, really great resource. She also has, I can see some different spreads in here. And dang, this one is called The Holy Mountain. Look at that. That is a pretty epic spread. You probably have to set that out on your floor, right, to do that. I've got a big, huge table here, so I could probably set out that entire spread. But this is going to be exciting to take a look at, and it's also got color plates in here. It has all of the cards' images, but it also shows color plates of the cards as well. And she also assigns specific gods and goddesses to the court cards, which I think is really cool. And she does have specific keywords that she associates with each of the minors. And I don't know that the keywords come from specifically something like Book T or some other system. I think that she may have just written the keywords herself. They do look unique. But yeah, here's another, the Yoni Yantra spread that she has there. So let's waste no more time. Let's get into these cards. So this is the Barbara Walker Tarot in its classic orange box. It's really funny, even the card that they chose to put on the back of this, it's the Eight of Swords. Not an easy card, not something, a lot of times they'll put on the back the Sun or the Magician or the High Priestess or one of the really beautiful cards. Who goes, let's put Eight of Swords on the back of the box with its keyword disillusion. Well, she's not pulling any punches here. She's like, hey, I want you to know what you're getting into here and don't think this is some kind of fluffy butterflies and ice creams deck. Now, I do believe that this is used. I mean, it's open. And I do want to mention this was printed in Switzerland by A.G. Mueller, but distributed by US Games. But it doesn't even look like these cards have been shuffled. Sometimes you can just tell when they are completely so lined up in the box that it almost looks like they haven't even been taken out. And as I look at these, they're perfectly clean. So I think that it was worth the money that I paid for them. It's not a large deck either. So if you're getting the pocket edition, you might find it might be the same size as these cards. Let me go ahead and grab another deck so you guys can see the difference. So this is the Hermetic Tarot. I would say that this is a pretty standard size tarot card. And so you guys can see that this is significantly smaller. And there's the back, of course. Maybe she had that in mind. They're cards for a woman's hands. So we've got a little title card here, Barbara G. Walker. I'm so glad they're giving me this information because, of course, I was trying to do research on her and it's just a little bit hard for me to find out where she was from. Born in Philadelphia, Barbara G. Walker has been a newspaper woman, dance teacher, housewife, mother, scholar, author, artist, designer, and a leading authority in the field of knitting, which I think is so awesome. When you look up her books, you'll see magic, symbols, rituals, goddess myths, and then you see knitting patterns, 100 ways to knit. And I remember originally going, well, that must be a different author because Barbara Walker is not a name that couldn't be multiple different people, of course, but it's not. It's all her. So she's got things in a couple different niches here. And it mentions the different books that I showed you guys and says 25 years of research into religious symbolism and feminist history, accompanied by a study of graphic symbolism, has culminated in all of these works that she's put out. Her interest in tarot evolved from studies in medieval heresies and surviving remnants of goddess worship in Europe's nominally Christian culture. The paintings for the Barbara Walker Tarot combine traditional tarot themes with profound meanings of pre-classic mythology. Now, this deck is predominantly the colors that you see on the back here, red, white, and black. And it says here in the little booklet, white, red, and black were recognized everywhere in the ancient world as the colors of the original feminine trinity, representing the three phases of Virgin, Mother, and Crone. Since she controlled fate and karma, she was often personified as the three fates, such as the Fortune, Moray, Norns, Morrigan, or even the Christianized Three Marys of Gnostic tradition. Her Trinitarian nature was eventually masculinized and adopted after much dissension and bloody strife for the Christian deity, but myths show the idea universally applied in older times to the goddess. So let's go ahead and start looking at these. Here's the first card, the Fool, and it starts off innocently enough. He has his flower, his cliff, all the dog here, all of the classic symbolism. There is no keyword, just the title, and we see that in a few different languages. The key number there at the top, and down here in the corner, the initials BGW. She is not only the author, but also the artist. And here we go, the Magician, Il Mago, looking quite a little witchy. This is the image that's actually used on the cover of the tin for the edition that is out now. The Papess. I love that she's not only holding the book, but she's actually reading it. I don't know if you can see that she's gazing down at it there. She has the keys down here at her feet, Alpha and Omega, the two pillars. Here's the Empress. Some of her classic symbolism that she has, the pearl necklace, which connects her in Kabbalah and the Tree of Life to the sphere of Binah, the Great Sea. Of course, pearls being a symbol of the sea. She has the lily and apples, symbols of purity, truth, and fertility there. She's holding a little grain of wheat, which is also the symbol of fertility. Here is the Emperor. We'll go through these a little bit faster. The Lovers. And here we see the Chariot with a symbol of Mercury on it. And Mercury, the symbol of the messenger of the gods, who could go back and forth between the realm of the gods and the realm of man. And so it does suggest that the chariot is not just about the vehicle, but also the vehicle which carries a message. Love this. Justice. Wow. The all-seeing eye up above there. And all dressed in white as a sense of just the purity by which justice is ruling. Here we see the Hermit. I love this Hermit. He has, again, a symbol of Mercury here. That's the staff of Hermes, also called the caduceus. Here we have the wheel. And rather than the Sphinx sitting on the top of the wheel, she actually has a depiction here of Hathor. So we know that Egyptian goddess because she has, it looks like the Taurus symbol, the sacred cow horns. So Hathor being very much a mother deity, kind of similar to the Empress. And look at this. Now here is one of my favorite cards. We've got Strength. She has kind of her little witch hat on, but what it is really is it's the same hat as the Magician, and it is that figure 8 pattern. So she's just taken it, and you see that this is also true in some older Marseille style decks, where the hat of the Magician or the juggler has the figure 8, where Pamela Coleman Smith, for instance, extracted that and put the figure 8 up above the head, which you also see, of course, up above the head in Strength. The colors of these are cool to me, just the bright backgrounds. You'll see what I'm talking about when we look at all of these. You know, one thing I'd love to see is if these cards had a little less border and a little bit more large imagery. And I'm pretty sure that it's the same story on the reprinted deck. That's a very cool Temperance. Here we see the Devil. This is interesting because the two people next to him, they're not chained, but they do see like they are very locked in, paying attention here. The Star. That's a cool moon, right? A little green crab there. The Sun, more classic depiction with the two children. Judgment. The World. All right, let's get into these minors. This is where they really get good. Love this first one. Ace of Swords. Doom. She is not playing here. This image is just so cool to me. She's got her crowned skull chalice there and the look on her face. Wow. You know, I wouldn't associate Ace of Swords with Doom, but this deck is not one where I'm just going to appropriate the images and apply my own interpretation. I feel like you have to use the interpretations that were provided here to go along with this. So Sorrow, we all know that for Three of Swords. But some of these, I mean, if there's any goths out there watching, I think I've found the deck for you. Seclusion. Interesting take on Four of Swords, because typically I see that as a card of meditation and rest, but sometimes there can be something to be said for isolating yourself in order to do that, right? Defeat, that's a classic interpretation. Wow, this is a really cool image, the Passage. I want to look this one up. She talks about the Greek myth with the ferryman Charon who brought the dead souls over to the underworld, crossing the waters of the Styx. She speaks about the waters of the Nile. And here we see what the Bible called the river Gehenna, which meant the river sacred to the Mother Earth. The dark entrance to Gehenna's headwaters, presided over by the fearsome Sphinx, with her mysterious riddles, offered a telling symbol of man's fears of the veiled, unguessable future. Every rite of passage was a ride into the unknown. And I do call this card Journey Under the Cover of Darkness, where you don't exactly know where you're going, but you know you're not turning back. Again, very witchy. There's Opposition. Are you guys ready for your Halloween readings? Your All Hallows Eve or Samhain readings? There's the card from the back. Cruelty, Nine of Swords. Wow, she's ready to be sacrificed there. And then the Ten of Swords, Ruin. These are actually pretty classic keywords. I think this is the same keyword that we see on the Thoth deck. Now let's take a look at these court cards, because as I said, she's actually associated specific gods and goddesses. This first one says Skuld. I don't know who she is. She looks like some kind of a Valkyrie or something. Prince of Swords. So she uses the princesses, princes. Oh my God, Kali devouring the intestines there. Wow. That's crazy. Pretty epic, right? And here's Yama, who we have seen. I definitely am seeing Yama a lot. Never knew about this god of death, but he's shown up in so many decks that I've opened. This is the third time we've seen a depiction of Yama. Now we have the wands. There's Power. There we see the triple goddess. Fate. A little goddess worship going on there. What is this? That Five of Wands. There's some dark ritual going on. And then we have the Six, kind of a classic depiction of that guy on the horse. Seven of Wands, Challenge. And Eight of Wands, the Fall from the Pegasus. 9, the Defense. Interesting that she's used the wands in this way. Normally we see them like this, which sometimes I think of as the bars of a prison. And there is the 10, Oppression. Again, classic keyword. All right, I've seen this one online before. I love her. Atargatis. She is the princess. There's the Prince of Wands, Dagon, the Queen, and the King. And I'll just have to read in the book to find out more about who they are. All right, so we've gone through these masculine suits of swords and wands. Now we're going to get into the two feminine suits of cups and pentacles. Wow, that's a nice depiction. So Ace of Cups, love, and romance with the 2, grace with the 3. Things looking a little lighter. But our next one, regret, because you know the 5 is going to have a negative connotation. I do love that 4 though, with that veiled dancer there. Interesting that we see 2 people in this card. And I love this one, so good. Childhood and the dream, kind of the fantasy. Loss in the 8 of Cups. We see Pan here and his lover turned into a tree. And then a beautiful image for the 9. And then the 10. And look how we see, that's interesting, salvation. And it's the woman that's leading the man there. Here we see the princess and the Prince of Cups. All right, pentacles. They're just so occult. They're just dark and witchy and weird, and I love them. I just think that image is really badass. It's kind of giving me that 80s realness, you know, but I'm here for it. So all of the pentacles that we're seeing just have much more of that sort of occult flavor than being just the suit of coins. And 4 of coins, avarice, which is like greed. It's an interesting depiction, right? Like this person has built this giant castle here, and it's like this fortress that they're completely walled in by. It's like the first stages of building the tower. That's what I think of when I see the guy on the 4 of Pentacles. They're sort of looking glumly, hanging on so tightly to his pentacles that if he doesn't let them go, that he's going to be experiencing a major tower. This isn't hard to recognize, the 5 of Pentacles. Here's the 6. She's there on her swan chase, and I don't know if you can see this, but she is dropping a little coin into this beggar's dish there. And it looks like that might be Quasimodo. See the hump of his back. And here we see some kind of an initiation going on. Is the 9, accomplishment. That's a beautiful, beautiful card. And then the 10, protection. Interesting take on the 10. Ooh, look at this Princess of Pentacles. Yes, casting her spell from within her sacred pentagram of invocation there. I wish that you guys could see the details because I feel like my camera can't focus quite on these images. And here we see her counterpart, the prince, looking like Merlin. Look at this guy peeking in the window. I love it. In the classic stance of the magician. And then finally, oh, there we have the goddess and Baal as the king of pentacles. Woo! All right, guys. Well, if you are here for something a little bit dark, something a little bit rich and mysterious, then I'm sure that you might want to get your hands on one of these, the Barbara Walker Tarot. So as I said, links will be down below where you can get the deck, where you can get the book, where you can get these other books. I do want to mention that anytime that I leave links down below that are Amazon links, they are affiliate links, which means that the School of 22 Teachings does get a little kickback from you if you use those links. Obviously, go seek out and find this stuff wherever you want to buy it from. But if you do want a way to support the school and you're planning on buying these things anyway, if you click through the link, then it really does help us out. So once again, go ahead and check out Barbara Walker. See all of the amazing things that she has to offer. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Barbara Walker Tarot. And should we go ahead and pull a card? I don't know. I hope you guys are ready. So let's center ourselves and let's ask for a message of something that needs to be either rectified or brought to the surface within the self. So we ask our guides to show us what within ourselves either needs rectification or to be awakened and brought forward. And here's our card. Oh, remember this? Learning. Wow. Okay, well, were you guys braced for some kind of dark, demonic looking message? We actually got a pretty pleasant looking card. So consider how your learning needs to be either rectified or brought forward. When I think of the concept of learning with rectification, I think that there comes a time when we have learned things that either that we've studied or we've been taught or we've just gained through our experience, and that in time, sometimes those things need to evolve because we learn more or our experience teaches us something else or we learn different ways of approaching things. So rather than just continuing to stay in the old vein of, well, this is the way I was told or taught, being able to update and evolve what your knowledge base is. Let's see what the book has to say. Eight of Pentacles to me is typically a card of productivity and work, so it is kind of an interesting interpretation. After the failure of the Knight's Grail quest, in which women did not participate, the search for mystic enlightenment could well have taken a new direction toward the feminine sensibility. Gnostic traditions indicated a renewed impulse toward female-oriented perception and feeling, to life-affirming concepts hidden within the psyches of women. As an antidote to ennui and alienation, society would be forced to go back to the beginning and relearn the old wisdom that only the mother could teach. The Eight of Pentacles is a card of learning or relearning secret doctrines. It suggests extension of understanding into new areas, an apprenticeship, a quest for the unstealable rewards of knowledge, and the serenity of true enlightenment. Wow, what a deep and beautiful message for us today. Well, as always, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for taking a look at this deck. I know that some people might not be into this at all, might be very turned off, and that's okay. There's only 5 million other tarot decks for you out there. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for helping me get through these 30 days, because now we're in the third trimester, if you will, and it's been a lot, but we're gonna get through it. So have a great Tuesday. Think about this message that came through, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.